Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to talk about solving multi-step equations, section 1.2 notes. We're going to discuss the steps that we can use. We can simply call it SADMEP, which is PEMDAS backwards. You start with subtraction, addition, then you go to division, multiplication, then exponents, roots, things like that, and then parentheses or grouping symbols. Besides that, we can also look at it as first, you want to distribute to eliminate, grouping symbols. Second, combine like terms. By adding or subtracting. And then isolate the variable by multiplying or dividing. Make sure that you're using opposite operations to move over the equal sign, and use given operations to combine like terms on the same side. We'll talk about that in class. I would like for you to answer this question right here. Why is it important to check your solution? Answer that question for us, and we'll discuss it tomorrow in class. All right, let's get to town on this. So we're going to start with, do I have any like terms that are on the same side of the equal sign? So that's going to be in this area right here. Nope. 2.5x and 13 are not like terms. Like terms, though, are going to be the 13 and the 2. I want to add the 13 to both sides. We have 2.5x. These add to 0. And 2 plus 13 is 15. Now I can get x alone or isolate the variable. 2.5 is being multiplied to x right now. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. So we're going to divide both sides by 2.5 or 2.5. This simplifies to 1x. Now remember, we don't have to write that 1. It's invisible and understood. And then over on the right side, we're going to divide 15 by 2.5, and we get 6. Always want to make sure that we are checking our solution. So 2.5 times 6 minus 13. 2.5 times 6 is 15. Is 15 minus 13 2? Yep, so our answer is good. All right, let's take a look at number 2. This time we do have combining like terms on the same side. Remember, we only use opposite operations when we're going back and forth over the equal sign. But because the 9x and the 6x are on the same side, we just do the operation it tells us to do. So 9 minus 6 is 3. So we have 3x over there on the right side. Then we're going to combine like terms by moving the 15 together with the 12 and starting to isolate that variable or get x alone. The opposite of adding 15 is subtracting 15. So we're going to subtract 15 from both sides. You owe 12, you owe 15 more, so you owe a total of 27. We bring down this 3x, and then 15 minus 15 is 0, and we don't have to write the 0 there. Let's finish solving our problem, getting x alone. Right now, this is 3 times x, so the opposite is to divide by 3 on both sides. Negative 27 divided by 3 is negative 9. And 3 divided by 3 is 1, so we're left with 1x or just x. Make sure that you check that your x makes sense. So we're going to do our check. Negative 12, 9 times negative 9, minus 6 times negative 9, plus 15. 9 times negative 9 is negative 81. We're going to use this as negative 6 times negative 9 is positive 54, plus 15. I'm going to add the negative 81 and 54 to get negative 27, plus 15. And then is negative 27 plus 15 equal to negative 12? And it is. So that is a good answer. You are going to work on problems 3, 4, and 5 on your own. Bring them into class. And we're going to move on to the bottom of the page. And for this one, we're going to talk about 2 different ways that we can solve this. So the typical way that probably we've talked about last year and maybe even a little the year before is to start with getting rid of the parentheses by distributing. So we have 2 times 1 is 2, and 2 times negative x is negative 2x. We still have that 3 and the negative 8. From here, I have like terms on the same side. Like terms on the same side, remember we do the math that it tells us to do, and in this case it's 2 plus 3. So 2 plus 3 is 5. We still have the minus 2x equals negative 8. Now I'm going to combine the 5 and the negative 8, those like terms. This time we're going over the equal sign, so we want to do opposite operations. This is a positive 5, so the opposite is a negative 5. So we're going to subtract 5 from both sides. Let me erase this so it doesn't look like we're dividing there. 5 minus 5 is 0. So we have negative 2x left. Don't forget to bring that negative sign down. It's so important, and I know a lot of times I forget too, so I have to go back and just double check myself. Over here on the right, we have negative 8 minus 5 more, or I owe 8, and I'm borrowing 5 more, so I owe a total of 13. Last but not least, this is multiplication here between the negative 2 and x. So the opposite is dividing by negative 2 on both sides. And negative over a negative is a positive, so we have positive 13 halves, or 6.5. The other way that we could do this is to start using PEMDAS backwards or SADMAP right away. That would mean that we're getting rid of this 3 to the other side first. So the opposite of adding 3 is subtracting 3. Subtract 3 from both sides. I'm going to do SADMEP. That's the subtraction or addition part. I'm bringing down the 2 times 1 minus x here. The 3 minus 3 is 0. And then negative 8 minus 3 more is negative 11. Now I'm going to talk about the multiplication and division. Right now I have multiplying by 2 over here. So I'm going to divide by 2 on both sides. These 2 simplify to 1, so they leave us the 1 minus x. It also takes the parentheses out and frees that up to be able to solve for x. And then we have a negative 11 halves over on the right side. Now I can work on getting that 1 minus x, get the x alone, so I have to move the 1. I move the 1 by subtracting because that's a positive 1. So if I subtract 1 from both sides, 1 minus 1 on the left is 0. Make sure you bring down that negative with the x. Now, adding fractions. 1 is the same as 1 over 1. So like terms, I would have to multiply, or like denominators, I apologize. I'd have to multiply the 1 by 2, both on the bottom and the top. to make negative 2 over 2. Now I can do negative 11 minus 2 more is negative 13 halves. Then remember, this technically is a negative 1 in front of that x. So it's negative 1 times x. The opposite is dividing both sides by negative 1. So that becomes a positive x. And then over on the right side, negative 13 halves divided by negative 1 is a positive 13 halves, or 6.5. So you can see we got the same answer no matter which way we chose to do it. So, maybe when you're practicing, take a chance and see if one of them works better for you than the other. So let's have you try 8 and 11 on your paper to bring in tomorrow. And then 13 will be the challenge one to bring in. So 8, 11, and 13. Real world life problems. All right. So we're talking about this table. We have miles that we need to bike. We biked 3.5 miles on Monday, 5.5 on Tuesday, nothing on Wednesday, 5 on Thursday, and we're going to bike on Friday, but we're not sure how many we need to bike to be able to get a mean of 5. That's our goal. So remember, mean is the same as finding the average. When we find the average, we add all values, then divide by the number of values added. So we would have Monday, Tuesday, oops, that was a 5.5. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. So we'd have to add those up, divide by 5, and we want to get an answer of 5. All right, well, let's start with finding out what all of this is. So 3.5 plus 5.5 plus 0 plus 5 gives us 14. So 14 plus x divided by 5 is 5. Now remember, there's kind of imaginary parentheses up here. In order to be able to get x isolated, we have to start with getting rid of the 5 that's in the denominator. So technically right now, this is dividing by 5 on the left. The opposite of dividing by 5 is multiplying by 5, which we do on both sides. Now remember, we can cross-reduce the 5s to a 1. So that leaves us with 14 plus x. And then 5 times 5 is 25. To finish getting x alone, we've got to move the 14. That's a positive 14. So we're going to subtract 14 from both sides. 14 minus 14 is 0. So we bring down that x. And 25 minus 14 is 11. So we would need to bike 11 miles on Friday to get that 5-mile average for all 5 days. Wow, that's a lot. All right, last one for today. We're going to talk about the drama club. We need to figure out how many people attended the play. So I'm going to start with P being a person attending the play. $4 per person. $4 per person, that would be multiplying. So 4 times P is how they're getting their money from admission. Now they borrowed $400. So borrowed means they spent it and they have to pay it. So that's minus 400. And then their net profit, or what they're coming out with at the end of the evening, is $100. So here's our equation to figure out how many people went to the play that night. All right. There's no like terms to combine. So we're going to start with moving the 400. The opposite of subtracting 400 is adding 400. We're going to add 400 to both sides. Bring down your 4p. Negative 400 plus 400 is 0. We don't have to write that down. And then 100 plus 400 is 500. This is 4 times p. The opposite of multiplying is dividing, so we're dividing both by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1p. We don't have to write the 1. And then 500 divided by 4 is 125. So 125 people went to the play. You try 16 and 17, and we will see you next class. Have a good one.